What's going on, Sports Nation? It's your boy Kenneth, Tiberius Clark, and I want to officially welcome you guys to season 3 of the Sports Exclusive podcast. Now I know it's been a minute. It's been months, been a while since the conclusion to season 2. Obviously, we had to get some things together, put some things in place, but it was really all in an effort to give you guys the best content possible for this season and any episodes that we do moving forward. So I guess first thing first is like a recap. Like, what is it that we need to catch up on? Like, what happened over the course of 2024? Obviously, the Chiefs won their second straight Super Bowl. Um, and this is the least talented they've been. So they won another Super Bowl and well in position to win a third. We had 6 QBs go in the first round of the NFL draft. Y'all know how much I love the NFL draft. First time since 1983. Right? Historical. The Celtics and Jason Tatum, after being, the best team in the league for 5, 6 years and, destined to win a championship, they finally got over the hump and they did that. They beat the Mavericks in what was probably the most boring NBA finals ever, but they finally won. We go to the fight world. Dana White we had a great UFC card back in April. I think it was Pereira Hill, which the main event was exciting. Pereira knocked Hill out like in the first round. Boxing, Saudi Arabia, they have this new proposal, a very ambitious proposal, I might add, to like unify all the sanctioning bodies and basically have all fighters in the worldwide, just create one big worldwide league. I don't believe that is going to happen because I feel like there's like a lot of pride and ego at that level when it comes to money. But I mean, hey, it'd be an exciting advancement for the sport. We may not have to wait 5 to 6 years to see some of these guys fight, like Bud and Errol Spence. I remember hearing about that fight in 2018. But I digress. Olympics. The Olympics just wrapped up. Obviously, my time. You guys are ahead of me. But we saw Simone Biles make history as always. She is now, I think, the oldest gymnast to win an all-around gold medal. Uh, yeah, it's not surprising. This is Simone Biles, the GOAT. So 2024 has been a great season thus far for sports. It's been great. Uh, but probably the biggest development that I didn't really talk about was the how can I say it? The WNBA becoming relevant. Like the WNBA has completely recreated themselves, and it happened overnight. No, well, let me not say it happened overnight because there have been advancements every single year. They've been figuring out new ways to get viewership. But this year they had a 100 and like in 2024, it's a 183% jump in viewership. Like crazy. But they went from this NBA funded, which are still NBA funded, but I think that they have the potential to break out of that. NBA funded, unexciting, bad marketing. And now they're this stadium sellout, headline stealing, star studded, exciting league. And a lot of people want to kind of attribute that to a lot of the new talent that they've got in. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese being the headliners, we know what they were at the college level. But I think it's deeper than that. I think that we have to kind of have to start to look at the female support or lack of female support within that sport or women's sport as a whole. So we've heard cries and complaints for a long time, but in my opinion, and I've looked across all sports and a few different examples, I'm going to make a statement. It's going to sound very bold, but I just feel like women don't support women's sports, or at least not how they should. So, first example would be looking at women's soccer, which is crazy to talk about them because they've had so much success on a national level. And just a quick disclaimer, the sport as a whole is facing an uphill battle here in the United States as far as gaining that following. So we talked about that on an earlier episode of the podcast. So, going back to the women having all this success, they deserve to get paid 2 to 3 times more than their male counterparts. Of course, we know that's not true. They had like a bill passed 2 to 3 years ago just to get them to be able to get equal pay as the males. But they were never able overall to garner that huge interest amongst young females. They still haven't been able to get that machine going. And even if we look at the sport as a whole, there are more male fans. 54% of soccer fans are males. 46% are females. Maybe you could say the gap is closing, but remember, we have a higher female population. So I think it's unfortunate when you look at some of the players in their sport, mainly somebody like a Megan Rapinoe, who is very popular figure, big advocate for women's sports, women's rights, women's athletes getting equal pay, right? She's huge in that area, in that realm, and she's considered one of the goats of her sport. But to see someone like her, I think, kind of have to ponder her career earnings or her income opportunities, over the course of of her soccer career. I think is just really, it's unfortunate, and I think it's an example of women really missing the boat to really get behind something that's built for them. I mean, if we look at the powerful realm of beauty and fashion, how many money making opportunities do you think could be in that? How many sponsorship opportunities do you think could be in there for a lot of these female athletes? How many NIL opportunities are possible that could kind of supplement the pay or lack of thereof for these female athletes? And I just think the possibilities are endless. And here we are talking about Megan Rapinoe. Her wife, Sue Bird, has seen her fair share of disparity just being in the WNBA. We look at Sue Bird and some of the things that she's done over the course of her career. She was they have this like a chart that compares her and LeBron James. Now, granted, LeBron James is LeBron James. But I want you to hear me out. I'm talking about relativity. But in her sport, she has essentially the same accomplishments as LeBron James when you see this chart. And she was barely making 300K. Like, so she was the LeBron James of her sport, but barely making 300K, not even making half a million. And once again, it's probably before taxes. But obviously, this has less to do about the individual player and more about the sport, about the league as a whole. It's bad. I don't want to like beat a dead horse, but it's pretty bad. It's been pretty bad from a marketing standpoint. And my favorite example of this, I was in high school at the time. I was a senior, but I was sick. I was sick. I caught like food poisoning. Couldn't go to school. Couldn't go to football practice, and so I stayed home. So I'm laying on the couch, and I'm flipping through channels. It's probably like 11 o'clock a.m. or something like that. It's early afternoon, and the WNBA draft was on. And I was like, yo, like, this is crazy. This is the time slot you gave them. You gave them a time slot when everybody's at work and school, like on a weekday. And that just, that was just one example of just kind of how bad the marketing, has been. And then, you fast forward to even last year, they weren't even making enough money to support a full 12 woman roster. Like, they were drafting some of these girls and they were cutting them months later just because they weren't able to support a full roster. And obviously some of those things are changing with the talent that they have coming in, or that have just came in and that are on the way. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Cameron Brinks, Camila Cordozo. We have, two of my favorite players who are coming in, Paige Buchers and Juju Watkins. So, these new players are really poised to usher in this new era of the WNBA. This very appealing era. I mean, these girls, they're fun, they're feminine. That's a big one. They're marketable. They're very business savvy, much more business savvy than their predecessors. Angel Reese said something I want to say before she went into the draft was like, "Hey, if I don't play in the WNBA, like I'll be good. Like I've set myself up enough to where I don't need this to make a living and to make a lot of money." And I think that just says a lot about this new talent, this new era, the mindset with some of these new athletes coming into the league. So, but here's the kicker: these women, these basketball players that are coming from the collegiate level, who are kind of taking the WNBA by storm, they were popularized by men. Straight up. Like, I'm not even gonna, we let's look at the women's basketball as a whole. Their most loyal and truest fans and followers have largely been males. Let's look on the big stage. Kobe Bryant, we know before his death, rest in peace, was a humongous advocate for the WNBA. Barack Obama has always been a staunch supporter of the WNBA. Tom Brady now, I mean, he's now entered that realm since he's now what minority owner of the Aces. Lil Wayne, Floyd Mayweather, and it's a pretty long list. A lot of male celebrities have openly supported the WNBA, women's basketball as a whole, and I think that this kind of few and far between when you start looking at these female celebrities that have the platform to really boost and help market some of these girls, are not just the WNBA, any female sport. So, and then when we look at the collegiate, like these collegiate girls, look, first of all, 62% of women's college basketball, 62% of the fans are men. And it could be for various different reasons. Maybe they like Caitlin Clark. They feel, because men, we're simple, right? It's not very difficult to entertain us. We're very simplistic in that nature. So maybe it could be Caitlin Clark hitting deep threes like Steph Curry. Maybe it could be Angel Reese kind of bringing like a sense of toughness and bravado to the women's game that we love. And then, I'm gonna be honest, you got some guys that I know, some fellas who they only watch college women's basketball because they were attracted to Cameron Brinks or Rakia Jackson. But it doesn't take too much to entertain us. And then let's step outside of basketball, right? So Ken, you're talking about soccer, you're talking about basketball, tennis, 14%, and the just to be clear, women's tennis is more popular than men's tennis. The biggest headline athletes, I'm not saying that they were better than the men, but the biggest headline athletes for tennis have largely been women. So Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, now we got Coco Golf. But 14% of the avid fan base are men. And you're like, and for me, when I see these numbers, I'm like, how? Like, you guys have these humongous, like very marketable, beautiful athletes, and you guys just don't want to support them. So I guess the question that I really want to pose to the female population is, at what point do you guys utilize your platforms, your influence, to push these female athletes, to push these female sports, to get these ladies to the next level or where they deserve to be? At what point does that happen? Because, like, we're not in the mid 1900s, the early to mid 1900s anymore. Those days are over. Women have created a hard lane for themselves in the realm of competition in sport. Like, some of the best athletes in the world are women. And I think now the world has taken notice of that. Like, everyone knows so much that if we look at the Olympics, there's gender parity. We have gender parity in the Olympics now, which has never really been a thing. Like, this year we had 157 men's events to 152 women's. Like, eerily close. And another thing, I'll hear women say, and this is the complaint I hear all the time. Well, since we're not men, we don't have that influence and that power. Bullshit. Like, women are multipliers. Like, you guys I read this. Women account for 70 to 80% of the global consumer economy. That means you guys literally make the world go round. If women decided to stop buying stuff or stop supporting stuff, like, the entire economy would fall apart. Like, that's how much influence and how much power that you guys have. So, I think that, you know, I'm gonna say this. You guys may scoff at it. Let's say, even factoring in perceived unfair gender bias or realistic, whatever your opinion is. If women decided that female athletes should get paid more than males, they would. If they decided that they should get the TV deals, they would. If they decided that they should get the sponsorship opportunities, they would. Like the fame, the notoriety, they would. And there really wouldn't be much that us as men could do about it because of we don't have the ability to multiply that they do. So, looking at the big picture, we've for so long, last 50 to 80 years, we've seen women across all sports fight for what they rightfully deserve: more fame, more money. Just they want to be on par, especially these top level female athletes. They want to be on par with their male counterparts, and I'm not mad at them. But I just think that um, like the goal of getting more viewership obviously drives revenue. I just think it hasn't been focused enough. Like you always hear, okay, what do we need? We need more people to watch. But the truth is that no, you don't need more people to watch. You need more women to watch. Like men, we're not the issue. We don't have a problem supporting sports. Period. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. Men, we are simple. Like we're simple. You give us something fast, physical, intense. I'm gonna be shallow here, but if you give us something good to look at, men are gonna watch it, and men are gonna throw money at it. Like that's who we are. Women, on the other hand, they're an enigma. I think we still haven't figured out what women really want to get behind when it comes to sports. But what we do know is that if women want to support something, if they want to they've taken in fashion small businesses, and they've made them big. Like women support what they're interested in. And the truth is, they're just not interested in sports. Like that's the conclusion I've came to. Right now, women aren't interested in sports. So that's the problem that we're going to need to solve before we get these female athletes, these female sports worldwide where they really need to be, where they deserve to be. So I don't know. You guys tell me, what do I need to do? What do we need to do to get women to actually start supporting their own sports? Let me know.